Hello once again, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another edition of AIW's The Card is Going to Change. And I say hello once again as if we just talked last week, but it's obviously been much more than a week. But we're so happy that you're joining us once again. And thanks, of course, as always, to our sponsors before we get into this week's show. Whoever they may be at this point, Angelo's Pizza, look, they're open right now. It's been a hard year. They could still use your support. So if you live anywhere near the Lakewood, Ohio area, check out Angelo's Pizza on Madison Avenue in Lakewood, Ohio. It's award-winning pizza, and they have so much more to offer as well. Thanks to Pollyanna DIY. Still no clue if he's doing anything here a year later, but I imagine he's got some things left over to purchase, so check out Pollyanna DIY. Speaking of buying things, find Thrift Store Jobber, get some of his stuff. If you get some of that stimulus money rolling into you once again, plus maybe you got that tax refund, go get yourself Inked Up by Sean Jaundice with Voodoo Monkey Tattoo. Who else we got here? Did I get to everybody?
Toy Hio, new sponsor coming up.
Yeah, Toy Hio.
Also, Toy Hio / Time Capsule Toys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Mysterious Benefactors, of course, which we will get into very soon.
We will.
As you know, they are kind of responsible for what we have to discuss today.
Are we?
What other sponsors do we have? I don't even know. I don't even know.
Well, I can't forget about.
We pretty much don't have any real sponsors, is what we're trying to say right now.
Yeah. We do, of course, have our partnerships with Smart Mark Video and their merger with IWTV. So you've got so many options to watch AIW and independent wrestling as a whole. If you go to smartmarkvideo.com, the entire AIW library that is available is there. You can buy it on DVD or MP4. And of course, you can stream AIW along with other independent promotions on IWTV. Go to independentwrestling.tv, use the code ABSOLUTE, and get yourself a 5-day free trial. And
also, before you move on from that, I just want to lay out. Okay, so recently we were able to do a little, I don't know if it was a contract renegotiation or they were just in a good mood. However, IWTV has laid out kind of a new incentive plan for its partners. So the more AIW you watch, the more opportunities there are for us to kind of hit these bonus tiers, the incentive tiers, where we will make some more money. So
there you go.
All of you out there, just get on IWTV and play every single AIW show you can this month. That would be greatly appreciated because we finally have something to talk about. We finally have something. You know, everyone is speculating on what the big announcement was last week, and we're going to get into it today. We are going to get into it, and it stands to reason we have not brought you this podcast because we didn't know what we were going to talk about. We could only talk about so many things. We could review shows, but then once we're out of them, then what do we talk about? Plus, that fucking holiday special was so annoying to put together. I wanted a little break, and it turned out to be like a three-month break. It was so time-consuming to put that thing together, and it was everyone, we were trying to make everybody happy. We were trying to involve so many people. And then it just turned out to not be as well received as we had expected, looking at the download numbers and things like that. And I just this was like one of those things where it was just like, fuck it. What's the point? Like it was just in one of those moods that I got into where it was just like we put in all this work and we usually just kind of wing it on the podcast, and that one we like mapped out. It was storyboarded, and so many other people provided content, and it was just like exactly the same amount of downloads that any other fucking podcast we've ever done would do, where we don't plan, and it was frustrating, and that is the truth. So I said, fuck it, let's take some time out from the podcast. We don't got anything to talk about anyway. Now we have something to talk about.
Yeah, I had to do all sorts of special recordings for that and editing. And it was very time consuming for us. So thanks for not fucking listening, people, I guess is what John's saying there. And I am seconding.
And I mean, I was saying it nicer than that, but pretty much what I was getting to is, I don't know. It's just, I get it. You know, the podcast world is so fucking oversaturated. And from what I hear, you know, our numbers do better than most of them, you know, at our level, I guess you could say. But, you know, when you have friends like Brian Myers and Cole Cabana, and you hear about how real successful their podcasts are, it is a real bummer when, you know, you're still doing better than most, but you're not doing as good as that. Yeah. And, you know, it is it's just like, I don't know, you know, and like I obviously am, you know, been working my real job through the whole pandemic and, you know, just juggling life. And it's just like, you know, do I really just want to sit down and talk when I have nothing to look forward to in wrestling? And, you know, that's just how it is. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry for everybody that missed us, but, you know, sometimes I just need, I think Steve does too. We just need some, you know, time away from, you know, just producing content.
Yeah, I don't ever necessarily have time away from maybe from producing AIW content, but then that just leads me into producing other content. But
well, this is your own fault though. You spread yourself so thin. You got 8,000 different fucking projects going on at once, and it's just like, dude, come on, like just pick one. Just pick one and do it really good. Like that's my motto. I picked the AIW. I try to do it as good as I can. It's doing okay for me. Could probably do a little better, but you know. You just you tell me all these things you work on, and I just go, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, you're like, I'm doing this podcast and this show, and I'm on fucking TikTok, and I'm doing this and that, and I'm just like, dude, like, come on. You gotta punch off the clock every now and then.
I'm building an empire over here, John Thorne, and
you're building something. I don't know if it's an empire. I don't know. Maybe like it's like you're building like a cabin in the woods right now or something. I don't know if it's a empire or a. I don't know what you're doing, but you do a lot. You do a lot of stuff. I'll say that.
Yeah, everything I'm working on right now is behind the scenes. I've been very quiet for the most part on my personal things, but
speaking of empires, I just found a autographed Ezekiel Jackson card in this pile of Chandler Biggins stuff that is in my office. So
there you go.
Any big Zeke fans out there? Got a 2016 Leaf Wrestling autographed signature series I just found laying on the floor in my office.
Before we get too far, let me ask you this, John Thorne. Since it's been 3+ months, what studios are we coming from right now? Just to be clear,
we're still in the remote studio locations. Because I've been paying for Squadcast this entire time and not realizing it, so we're gonna get some use out of it.
Is this the Paul Greer Studios, or is that where we are?
Oh, Paul. Man, I don't. Paul Greer has not re-upped his lease for 2021.
Okay.
You know, it's been a while. I don't know. You know, what's the current government status? Are we evicting people, or is it still like rent forgiveness? What's the current policy going on in the new regime?
It seems like everything is still a free for all, depending on who you ask. I think that the rent forgiveness is supposed to have been an ongoing thing that just hasn't been happening.
Okay, well, you know, I'll give Paul Greer a little rent forgiveness. It could still be the Paul Greer Studios. I mean, we haven't been producing any content in 2021 anyway, so I mean, might as well, right? Shout out to Paul Greer.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Thanks, Paul Greer. But Paul Greer Studios, with the mysterious benefactors, of course, as an assist here, and they are a very big assist. We'll get into how in a moment, but we've been very cryptic. Can I say cryptic is the word to describe it?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you know, it was all kind of part of trying to re-engage some interest here, right? Because, we did the 2 shows in Indiana, and that's, been heavily debated on if we should have or shouldn't have, and if they could have been better, and, all that stuff. But I felt no matter what is those shows did not feel the genuine AIW experience, so to speak. And, like we've discussed before, promoting events through the pandemic is, it's going to be kind of very one way or the other. So I felt that maybe some people have, been obviously worrying about their own lives, their own situations. AIW and wrestling in general falls way down the totem pole for a lot of people, which is completely understandable. And then, there's other people that are like, when you coming back? And they're still following everything we do, but there's been nothing to follow. So the plan was to try to kind of, go fishing, so to speak, and get people a little bit engaged and, kind of reel people back in to say like, hey, we're still here. We're finally working on something, start kind of, re-engaging and checking out our social media stuff. And you know what I mean? And that's why we're bringing the podcast back too, because this podcast, as it's not successful as some of my friends' podcasts, it is still a great outlet for reaching the AIW fan base. So, this was all kind of laid out in a plan. Mr. Whiskers has now returned to the podcast.
Fantastic.
You hear in the background yelling. But it was all kind of part of the plan to continue to get everybody a little excited again and a little interested again in what we are doing, which has led to a ton of speculation on Twitter and Facebook as to what exactly we are doing. And that's what we're going to tell you right here on this podcast. Obviously those who subscribe to our Patreon, this has already been laid out to them last week as to exactly the details of what everything is meant. But, today we are going to explain it to the world, or, I mean, that sounds like so pretentious. Like, we're going to explain it to the couple thousand people that listen to this podcast sometimes.
The general public here. So maybe it's been a month or so ago, a few weeks ago at least, we first put out hashtag AIWGFB. And nobody had a clue what it stood for. Everybody trying to make guesses and wondering.
Yeah, and, it was, I mean, people were, it was like fucking, the what's that movie, the fucking National Treasure, man. Everyone was trying to fucking crack the code. Everyone was like trying to figure out what this meant, and some people had some wild guesses, I'll say that.
I thought that it meant we were merging with Gary F. Barnage, former Cleveland Brown. I thought that he was buying in on AIW.
AIW Gary fucking Barnage.
Yeah. Just a guess to throw out there. Maybe him and D'Angelo Williams.
I mean, some people said, some people had some really, really crazy guesses. Some people guessed go for broke, but they still also had no idea what it meant.
Yes, so that is what it is. AIW Go for Broke, and we then released this image, AIW Go for Broke, April 8th, and that has prompted a lot of guessing and confusion because April 8th, of course, being Mania weekend, and everybody now wants to know, is AIW, is this Go for Broke, is this a live show happening Mania weekend in Tampa, Florida? It is not.
And I'm going to tell you, more speculation came over the weekend when I posted photos at the Tampa airport, but it was not a business trip at all. Just a personal trip. But just trying to stir people up a little bit. It is not a show Mania weekend. It is not a show in Indiana. It is not a show in Cleveland. It is something that I don't think anybody can guess. And I guess we could kind of rewind and get into the development of what this project is. And essentially, look, we're all going crazy. We're all trying to figure out how to get back in the game here. Obviously Ohio has been pretty locked down when it comes to allowing any sort of entertainment event, not just wrestling. There's no concerts, there's no hardly any comedy event. Everything is pretty locked down in Ohio, and especially the major metropolitan areas of Ohio, like Cleveland and Columbus and Cincinnati. So we're just always trying to prepare for when we can come back, and it just wasn't happening, and it wasn't happening. And we were really sought after to do a show Mania weekend. And I mean, when I say we were sought after, like, I'm not even blowing it out of proportion. Like, there are multiple locations set up for WrestleMania weekend this year, and multiple locations were really courting us to do a show and make our comeback show in Tampa. And a lot of the deals, under normal circumstances, the deals could not have been passed up. I will say that. But I really think that at this point in the game, after the experiment with the 2 Indiana shows, that it is Cleveland or nothing for AIW to come back in front of a live crowd. It's just, I think every time we do a show somewhere else right now, it's just creating diminishing returns for our actual Cleveland return date. Mm-hmm. So we started trying to think outside of the box. I mean, I would have loved to have gone to Tampa and done a show Mania weekend. It just did not feel like it would be the genuine AIW experience, the genuine AIW comeback show. The Indiana shows were great. I'm not downplaying that they weren't great. It was great for morale. It was great to see everybody. It was like, it was really needed at the time. But as I've said, it was not the AIW experience that we all know and love in Cleveland. And I really just, it's like I'm just in this like field of dreams mode, to where it's just like, like, we've built it and people have come and people have traveled, and people that love AIW and get AIW, they really love it, and they love it in Cleveland, or Akron. Mm-hmm. You could consider Akron Cleveland as well. Sure. But, that's what people love about this brand and this company. It can't just be AIW in whatever town America. Like, it's AIW in Cleveland, and that's it. That's it. Like, at least to come back. And this is just, it's really hard to say no. You know what I mean? It's hard to say no to the opportunity to go do a show where you can legally host a show, and every talent in the world is going to be available. I just don't think it's the right move for us to do. Well, so, go ahead.
I was going to say the other side of that is, over the last several years, we have kind of cultivated this brand, and when we do shows, we have done such a good job of the build, the build to the next thing, and build up, and this show builds into this one, and sometimes it's all long term, and it builds to Absolution or something else, and there's just, when you're at home in Cleveland, to come back after taking time off, you don't need that build. To go away and do something in another town after doing nothing for many months, I mean, like, we need the build. There's no build.
And that was the second part of my decision, and you explained it differently, but the way, I process it in my brain, and my reason for, telling those who were trying to get us no was momentum. We have absolutely no momentum right now. And I would love to think that AIW is the greatest fucking independent wrestling promotion in the world, and everybody loves it. But in reality, I know that we need momentum going into that situation, and we cannot just go to Tampa cold. and we have no momentum. We have no build. We have, pretty much we would just go in with a blank slate coming off of nothing and saying like, hey, here we are in Tampa. And that just doesn't work for me. I really feel momentum is a big factor in wrestling, just like momentum is a big factor in a sports game. Like momentum can change everything. And if you look at that, Slumber Party Massacre, we had a lot of momentum going into that show, and we overachieved, I feel, that weekend. And we kept riding that momentum. And that momentum, I think, was really going to hit that fever pitch in Tampa last year.
Yeah.
But when you hit a brick wall and you're starting cold and you got no angles, nothing to put out there, momentum is big. And I believe in this. Trust me, I believe in AIW more than any person walking the planet. However, I don't want to go out there cold and fail because I needed to have a show. Like, it's not fair to the talent. It's not fair to the fans that support this. It's got to be Cleveland or nothing at this point. And that was when we decided we have to go back to the drawing board, so to speak, and figure out how we can build momentum, or at least have a presence at this point, because we've had nothing in a year outside of 2 events when we're normally running at least 20 a year, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes 2 events a month, yeah.
And in 2020, we had booked the most ambitious schedule to date ever. We were probably looking at 30 or 40 shows by the end of the year. So, we figured we have to go back to the drawing board, and it's like we have to start over. We have to rebuild it. And this whole idea started with, it was really Dom and you, I believe, were both kind of like, let's just tape some matches at the school. Let's do some stuff at the school. Let's just film some stuff at the school.
Yeah.
And I was just like, nah. Like, it just didn't sound interesting to me, because there's plenty of people that are just taping matches for matches just to have a show, and it doesn't matter. And, Dom's like, and you were like, no, we can just film some stuff at the show. We'll get at the school. We'll get kids work. And it was very kind of like a basic idea. Like, let's just film matches at the school and put matches on YouTube.
Well, and we thought that we could create a show in the vein of kind of like how Intense TV used to be for AIW, but there would be, they'd be new matches that were happening then, I guess, is a very vague way to explain.
The bare bones of the idea started like, let's just film some matches at the school. And then it started evolving to, well, let's just make a TV show at the school, like Intense TV. And then, it just kept evolving, and none of it was resonating with me. None of it was exciting me. And Dom was adamant about it, and you were adamant about it, and I was just trying to explain to you guys, like, this is just not exciting. And it kind of was in the same lane of my, I don't want to do a show just to do a show in Tampa. I also didn't want to put matches out just to put matches out. Mm-hmm. So I called a meeting with several people. I said, hey, let's meet at the Winchester, and everybody, give me your pitches. Tell me what you think we should be doing. And I think a fair explanation would be, none of the ideas at first got anybody excited. And then we started ordering alcohol. And things got a little crazier, and the ideas got a little bit more far-fetched.
7 bottles of champagne for mimosas all day, folks.
I mean, we were there for a good 8 hours.
Yeah.
And then through that, Go for Broke was born, essentially, the shell of the idea. In which, I guess, Steve, at this point, you can take over and explain that.
Yeah, so what we came together to basically create is this Go for Broke being members of the AIW roster would compete. And what we knew then is that they would all be competing, and this would lead to a tournament. That tournament, we can tell you, is the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tournament for the Chandler Biggins Memorial Cup. This cup would then give the winner the opportunity at any AIW title. So now there's a reason for anyone to try and participate. But we didn't want to just do a big, long tournament.
And I want to make that the sticking point right there is every pitch. I am just an eternal pessimist. If somebody gives me the greatest idea ever, I will tell them what's wrong with it. That's just my personality because I try to eliminate every single kind of, I guess criticism that could come. And I'm sure there's stuff that I did not think of in this concept. However, my big thing was, what is the point? Why are we doing this? Mm-hmm. What is the point of these matches? What is the point of these shows? And that is kind of how this concept eventually starts coming together. Is we need a reason, we need a why, and then we start kind of building. We started building around that.
And as the alcohol flows, sometimes ideas come up. But also another thing that happens is you sit around and you kind of look for ways to pop yourselves and pop each other. And you think about, what can we include in this show that is going to pop us just for fun? Because again, some of this is for us, if we're being honest. We have to make it that way. We've been sitting pretty much dormant for a year. And a few of us, Thorne and I definitely included, come back to one of the things that we always still love, are Biggins bucks. And we think, what would get Chandler riled up? Biggins bucks. And so this idea comes that we are going to have people buy their way into the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tournament. But how do they do it? They have to earn Biggins bucks. So...
And this probably sounds crazy to people that are listening.
Yeah, it's money, folks. They gotta get money, but it's AIW currency. So people are going to compete for.
You say that again, because you broke up there for a second, so I'm not sure if it picked you up. But
no, so people are going to compete for weeks, couple months. We don't know. The idea then came that there is going to be a clock that's ticking down, and nobody actually knows when it's going to end. So you have to earn as many Biggins bucks as possible, and you have to have the most Biggins bucks to buy your way into this tournament. And the fun is that nobody competing in this wants to compete in this tournament has a clue of how many Biggins bucks they're going to need, because they don't know when the clock is going to stop.
So essentially, what we developed is
chaos.
But every match now has a purpose, because if you win Biggins bucks. If you lose, you earn nothing. And everyone is kind of wrestling to build up their bank accounts and eventually buy their way into this tournament later on, which will be a whole other thing. But I guess just read the the elevator pitch, or the synopsis.
Yeah.
That
so here's the basic synopsis for you folks that we came up with. Professional wrestlers will battle in a series of matches in front of no fans over multiple weeks to earn Biggins bucks. The competitors with the biggest bank accounts will then be able to cash out and enter themselves into the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tournament. They'll fight for the Chandler Biggins Cup, which guarantees a shot at the AIW Championship of their choosing. AIW will keep a running tally on the reported bank balance of each competitor. However, every competitor is responsible for keeping their own Biggins bucks safe, which sounds easy, right? But there is a catch. The competitors will never know when the clock is going to stop and how many days left they have to build their bank accounts before the tournament is set to begin. Not everyone who participates will be able to pay enough to enter. Biggins bucks will be earned by winning matches. Who will be able to buy their way into the tournament? There'll be several twists along the way to see which AIW competitors are ready to go for broke.
So once we laid that out, then came, how can we pay for this? Because we have no money coming in, essentially. So this is where the Goldsteins come in, the mysterious benefactors. We took essentially that pitch and we pitched it to them. And they said, how much money do you need? And we then spoke to venues and kind of, first it was going to happen at the school. And then, we decided we couldn't do it there because it's a gym and they're playing music and there's people in and out. So we started kind of, doing the numbers, running the numbers. And we came up with a number, and they said, where do we send it? And they sent us money to cover the pilot set of tapings, which was awesome, And then everybody, all the talent involved agrees to do it on a volunteer basis. And what we're going to do is, when you see Go for Broke, you will be able to support every talent directly, direct to their Venmo or their Cash App or their PayPal or whatever. So whenever you see Go for Broke, and Steve touched on something that we haven't even dropped yet, and the synopsis is, this is taking place in front of no fans. So this is not a live show. It's not a show in Cleveland. It's not a show in Tampa. Not a show in Indiana. Not a show that any of you can attend.
Correct.
This is a taped episodic show, and you will be able to donate and support every performer directly if you choose. There's no, big funds or any of that. It's, 100%. Everything you send to Wrestler X goes directly to them, and they get it. So from that, we get the funding, we do the tapings, then we develop the pilot, and we sent that to IWTV. And, we did this with no idea if it was going to, have anywhere to air. We were, if they didn't want to air it, we were going to, possibly put it on YouTube or something. But we sent them the pilot, and they really, really liked it from the sounds of it. And they asked us if they can debut it on April 8th during Mania weekend, during their big showcase of the Independence weekend. So we will debut Go for Broke April 8th at 6 p.m. live on IWTV. And then going forward, it will broadcast every single Tuesday at 10 p.m.
Yep. And, the other side of this is that
I feel like we're all over the place, and I hope people are following.
Yeah. It's gonna be something you guys have to watch. Really, is what it comes down to. Not only is this going to be a wrestling show, this is the thing that we haven't touched on. It is a wrestling show, but more really what we have done with this concept is created we've created a show, a TV show, and there is wrestling.
It's basically a reality game show with wrestling as the backdrop.
Yeah, because if you've never learned anything about John Thorne through listening to the AIW podcast, except for one thing, it should be that he loves MTV's The Challenge.
I love it.
And that's where a lot of this came from.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's really could be applied to any reality game show out there.
Yeah.
However, and that sounds ridiculous when you're talking about pro wrestling, but we were looking for a fresh presentation and a concept that people can kind of sink their teeth into and hopefully build that momentum back up. This is not going to be, the balls to the wall AIW show that you're accustomed to. This is going to be a completely different presentation. But, I think that it is something that is meant for these weekly TV sort of broadcasts that IWTV is doing. And, trust me, if I didn't think that it was at least somewhat entertaining, I would not even be pushing it through because it, even Steve can tell you, he put together the pilot and I wrote him about 7 pages of notes to change before I would even send it in to get looked at. I think it is, very well produced. I think it is a completely different presentation than anything that is out. And, some people will probably think it sucks. I get that. I get that. It's when I'm explaining it out loud, I go, man, sounds kind of crazy, but it is something completely different, and it's a totally different presentation. And that is another thing that we should get into is this is 100% self-produced, without Smart Mark Video or IWTV coming in. We shot this differently, we produced it all differently. Obviously, when live shows come back, they are going to continue to produce our events. However, for this, we wanted to give it a completely different look and feel because of the way this whole thing kind of developed and was laid out. So we kind of shot it almost like guerrilla style, like DIY style on, iPads, and it has a completely different look than anything else that we've put out, and it doesn't look bad. Like when you say, "Oh, it was shot on an iPad," that makes it sound like it's going to look bad. It does not look bad. It is just we were looking for a different overall presentation based on the overall concept of the show.
Yeah, John and I both have iPad Pros, which happen to have brand new iPad Pros, I should say. And they have fantastic cameras. And I also happen to have an iPhone 11 Pro, which has a great camera. And we've got audio recording equipment. I will say there were some mishaps because the other side of this in doing it DIY is we relied on our own put together crew, which in some aspects were
it's just students. It's just students that
who have zero production background. Yeah. We have one student who has a little bit of a production background, and he was of great help. But other than that, we don't really have anyone. So there are some things, technical things along the way. But
right, like this isn't going to be a completely flawless operation. We've never done this before.
But I still think people are going to be impressed.
I hope so. It sounds crazy and I don't know, it's like some Vince Russo shit, but I assure you it is not. It is, it was a challenge for me, who is just so kind of in my own ways on how I book wrestling shows and, what goes where and when, and, the flow of a live event. and this is not that. So this was a bit of a challenge to kind of try to write episodic things that, kind of unfold over weeks instead of hours. It was, I don't know. It's the most time-consuming thing I think that I've ever worked on as far as AIW is concerned, of just the attention to detail and like the just OCD of, we were in a conference room with a gigantic whiteboard writing out, weeks and weeks and weeks, and, you have to keep track of the money and all this other stuff. And, it is something that people can sink their teeth into. I hope people enjoy it because we've worked on it quite a bit. As long as you are an IWTV subscriber, you will be able to see it as part of your subscription, every single Tuesday at 10 p.m. So, I mean, nothing else, what else are you going to be watching Tuesday nights at 10 p.m.?
Yeah, look, if you have yet to subscribe to IWTV and you're thinking about it and this is intriguing you, I want you to subscribe now and get your 5-day free trial over with. But we have Thursday and then the following Tuesday, episode 1, episode 2. So I'm just saying, if you want to wait because you still got to make up some money and you want to get that 5-day free trial, it wouldn't be bad to start it on April 8th, right before 6 p.m., so that you can then watch episode 1 and then that very next Tuesday, episode 2. I think that's 5 days if I did that math right. I don't know.
Well, we're going to find out how good we are with math as the show unfolds over the next few months. And, this is a thing that is, it is lined up to go a few months. It's not, going to be like a 3-week show. It's going, a minimum of 2.5 months at this point. And if people, it's kind of in this, wait and see to where, we can write more or we can finish it. We could tie up loose ends, it's kind of like in the hands of the people right now to, if you like it, we're going at least 8 weeks, I would say. And, hopefully more, but this is kind of a thing to at least re-engage the AIW fan base. You're not going to see, your star-studded, banger matches from top to bottom on the show. So I want to get those expectations out of the way right now. Mm-hmm. This is a different presentation, and I think it's enjoyable. Some people have kind of been, testers, would beta testers for the show. I don't know what you want to call them.
Yeah, that works.
But it has gotten some pretty good reviews from the people who have been able to see the pilot episode so far. We've sent it to some people looking for sponsorships, because, as the Goldsteins did fund the first set of tapings, there will be several sets of tapings. So we are, always trying to raise money to, keep this project going. I don't want to do the Indiegogo thing or the GoFundMe or the, whatever else. I don't want to do it.
And by the way, let me interject there. As you talk about sponsorships and things, this is a weekly episodic show. And that means that we have given enough time if you want to have an advertisement during an episode of Go for Broke. We can make that happen for you.
We can make it happen on week 1 still, Yeah. If you want an advertisement, on that 6 p.m. April 8th slot during the Showcase of the Independents, we've left a few minutes on the episode if anyone wants to slide a commercial in there. I mean, it's every little bit counts at this point. But, also we want everyone to support the performers that donated their time to participate in this whole thing. Everyone was kind of explained the concept, and they agreed to be a part of it, and I want to make sure that if anyone is getting any sort of money, it's going to those performers first. You'll see, throughout the episodes, you'll be able to donate to every single person directly.
Correct. And that actually, you said Wrestler X, that also even includes Referee X and Referee Tom Dunn. Well. They were also included on there. So by all means, if you enjoy what you're watching, you'll be able to find ways to donate to the performers, and we hope that you do that as much as you want, as often as you want.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this probably sounds super weird. Hopefully it's at least weird enough that you're interested. And, now you know what all the cryptic stuff means. People were booking flights and people were getting prepared. And, I was just like, we can't drag this out any longer. We have to explain this.
We got to tell people something's up here. Yeah. Yes. So April 8th, 6 p.m., IWTV, the debut of AIW's Go for Broke, part of their showcase of the Independence weekend. And then the very following Tuesday at 10 p.m. on IWTV, you will be able to watch the second episode. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. after that on IWTV, a brand new episode of AIW's Go for Broke. So it's a 1-hour episodic show.
At least for a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
It's been a very complicated process, I'll say that, but I think that it's going to hopefully be a rewarding process when it's all said and done. I'm really excited about this. I feel like no one's really done anything like this before, and I hope people like it. That's really all I really care about is I hope people like it. I hope people support the performers that are in it. I'm going to keep that a mystery at this point. As to who was a part of these tapings. They were super secret. Just support it. Now and now we have something to talk about. We can get back to doing this podcast and, building the momentum towards April 8th and the big debut on IWTV. It's only going to be just under an hour. So, we're not asking you to dedicate 3 hours of your night. I know there's a lot going on. WrestleMania weekend, of course, like there always is. We are just asking for about an hour of your time at 6 p.m. To tune into IWTV and check out episode 1 of Go for Broke.
That's exactly it. No better way to say it and end things on our return episode here of AIW's The Card is Going to Change. Any final thoughts other than that, John Thorne?
No, I hope this really weird explanation podcast worked and people want to watch it because, saying it out loud when you're not in a room full of people that have helped develop it, it sounds a little weird. I'm not going to lie.
It is, it's truly, I think, something that you have to watch and you have to see because it's difficult to explain. It really is.
And a lot of people worked on this show. It's not just me. It's not just Steve. There are this is the biggest undertaking I will say in AIW history, from the writing, the development, the self-producing it, everything. I mean, this is a true DIY kind of presentation. And, a lot of people put a lot of hard work into this, and I just hope you support it, and hopefully, as this gets going and, the vaccine is continuing to be rolled out, hopefully we can get a live event on the books as well and return to Cleveland like we are meant to be.
Absolutely. And as we talk about returns, we will return to you next week right here on AIW's The Card is Going to Change. For John Thorne.
And if you have, before you wrap it up, if you have questions about Go for Broke, or anything AIW related, shoot Steve an email, steve@aiwrestling.com. We can answer some questions next week. And get back in the groove of things, because we don't have a lot to talk about. Like we've been working on this show for the last, I would say, 2-ish months or so, 2-3 months.
Yeah.
So, ask us some questions, shoot us some stuff. Let's get back to the fun podcast that you all talk about, that you guys all want back. We're back. So send us some questions. Let's get back into the rhythm.
We're back as the letter from our attorney,
my lawyer,
John Thorne's lawyer, Gary said. So thanks so much for tuning in. We hope that you tune in on April the 8th at 6 p.m. IWTV. Again, if you haven't used your free trial ever, sign up using the code ABSOLUTE. Get a 5-day free trial. Start it that day and watch. Try to watch that following Tuesday as well. I think if my math's right, that's 5 days. You'll find out. But anyway, for John Thorne, my name's Steve Guy. We'll talk to you next week right here on AIW's The Card is Going to Change.